Hey there, I hope you're ready for some side dish ideas because this is my top requested video to make. These are just 4 very simple side dishes that I hope you will enjoy as much as I do. Let's go ahead and get started and I'll show you what I made. To begin today, we're going to make these roasted potatoes and veggies in the oven. I'm just going to start by preheating my oven to 400 degrees, and then over to my cutting board I have 3 large carrots that I'm cutting the ends off of. I'm going to peel those and then chop those into smaller pieces. Now moving over to my sweet potato. This was the weirdest sweet potato I've ever seen. It had such an interesting shape to it. But I went ahead and peeled that, and then I'm cutting that into cubes. Once those are all cut up, everything's going into a large bowl. I'm going to drizzle it with about a tablespoon or so of olive oil and give it a good mix. Now I'm going to season up my carrots and sweet potatoes. Half a teaspoon of garlic powder. Half a teaspoon of salt, about a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, maybe not quite a 1/4 teaspoon. Go easy on that at first. You can always add more in the end if you need to. A 1/2 teaspoon of thyme and a 1/2 teaspoon of rosemary. Now over to a baking sheet, I'm adding a little olive oil on there, and then I'm going to add those carrots and potatoes onto that baking sheet, and we're going to allow those to cook first in the oven. That way those carrots can get nice and tender, and they baked for about 20 minutes to start. While those were baking, I went ahead and started in on my zucchini. I cut the ends off of that, and if you want to peel this, you totally can, but I definitely like to eat the outside, so I'm cutting that into half moons. Now I'm adding that zucchini into that same bowl that we had the sweet potatoes and carrots in, and I'm also adding in 1 bag of frozen broccoli. It does not have to be thawed, it doesn't matter, just go ahead and add that in there. Again, going to add another tablespoon of olive oil and just repeat all the seasonings from earlier. Here are the sweet potatoes and the carrots after 20 minutes in the oven. You will notice that some of them have some darker sides to them. I promise you they are not burnt. That's actually the best part about this recipe. The seasonings with the olive oil get them dark on some sides, but it is so delicious. Once I made sure nothing was sticking, I added the broccoli and the zucchini onto the sheet pan as well. I'm just kind of mixing those all in together, and then these are going back in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes. As soon as your broccoli and your zucchini are nice and fork tender, and you make sure that your carrots are fork tender as well, you're good to go and it's ready to eat. Here's what it looked like coming out of the oven. This is such a simple and easy recipe, also very healthy. A side note that I do want to mention is if you do not like sweet potatoes, you can use regular potatoes for this as well. I would recommend using gold or yellow potatoes. I really like serving this with something simple, just like a marinated chicken, just like I did here tonight. Dinner doesn't always have to be super fancy. I love these, they're easy and delicious. Next up, we're going to make a cucumber salad. To begin, into this little bowl here, I'm adding in a 1/2 cup of sour cream and a 1/2 cup of mayonnaise, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of sugar, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, around a 1/4 teaspoon to 1/2 teaspoon of white vinegar. That kind of depends on how tangy you like this to be, so I would start with a 1/4 and then you can always add more. And the last thing is just a little bit of dill. I believe I used about a 1/4 teaspoon. I got that all mixed together and just set that aside, and now I'm going to work on slicing up one large cucumber. For the cucumbers, I like to slice them up pretty thin, and I'll just add those straight into that bowl, and once everything is all cut up, I'll just get it all mixed together. This is one of those recipes I feel like everybody likes it a little bit differently, so if you make this and you try it and it's not quite your cup of tea, adjust some of those seasonings. I like this a lot differently than my family members do, so if you want it to be a little sweeter, add more sugar. If you want it to have more of a garlic taste, add more garlic. Any of these seasonings, the vinegar, anything like that, make sure that you taste it and adjust to your liking. Before you eat this, just let it sit in the refrigerator for at least 30 minutes to chill. Now we're just going to make some simple, easy potato wedges. I went ahead and preheated my oven to 400 degrees, and then over to my cutting board I have 2 large baking potatoes that I did wash, and now I'm slicing those in half, and then each half is going to get cut into 4 to 5 wedges just like this and added into a large bowl. Once everything is in the bowl, you're going to go ahead and add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to mix those around to make sure everything gets coated nicely. And then for seasonings, I'm adding 1 tablespoon of ranch seasoning, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of oregano, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I actually added a little bit too much salt in here, so just be careful with that, and about a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Once everything is added, I'm going to just mix those together until my potato wedges are nicely covered with all the seasonings. I sprayed down my baking sheet with a little bit of nonstick spray, and then I added my potato wedges onto there. I do take the time to spread these all out, make sure none of them are touching. You want to give them all the opportunity to get nice and crispy on the sides. I put those in the oven for 20 minutes to start. When they came out of the oven, I did go ahead and take the time to individually flip each one of those onto the opposite side. This will allow the other side to get nice and crispy as well. I stuck those back in the oven for an additional 15 to 20 minutes until my potato wedges were nice and fork tender. This is just one of those sides that's really easy. You can make with pretty much anything, and it doesn't take a whole lot of time. Most of the time it's in the oven baking. So if you can get it thrown together really quickly, this is such an easy and quick side. I like to dip mine in spicy ranch because it's the best condiment there is in my opinion. And that's all there really is to this recipe. Next, we're going to make something called a pizza pasta salad. This recipe was really refreshing. I did really enjoy it. I started by getting some water boiling. I did add some salt in there as well. And once it was boiling, I added in half a box of penne pasta, and I cooked that according to the package directions. Next, while that is cooking up, I am just going to take half a block of mozzarella cheese. So this was about 4 ounces. I'm just going to cut these up into nice tiny little cubes. After the mozzarella, I'm moving on to some pepperoni. You can add as much or as little pepperoni as you would like to. I'm just slicing that up into nice small pieces as well, along with some grape tomatoes. I'll have all these measurements listed down below for you. Once my pasta was done, I did drain it, run it under some cold water, and added it into this nice big bowl. I'm adding on my pepperonis, my cheese, and the tomatoes. Over top of that, you'll add your favorite Italian dressing. I'm using the store brand of the Olive Garden dressing. I think that one is really good. I really enjoy that one. I probably added about a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup of that dressing in here. I gave it a really good mix together before adding on my Parmesan cheese. Next, I'm adding in some freshly grated Parmesan cheese. Honestly, I could tell you that I don't think that there is a right or wrong amount of Parmesan to put in this. Do whatever makes you happy. I probably put close to 1/4 of a cup. I did cut this recipe in half though, just because I knew that I would be the only one eating it since my husband doesn't really like this kind of stuff. So once I got that all shredded up in there, I went ahead and gave it a really good mix together. And then I added a little extra Parmesan over the top just to finish it off. You will just want to make sure that you chill this in the refrigerator for at least 30 minutes. A little longer, maybe an hour, is actually better. If you go to eat it and it seems dry, you can always add more of that dressing on there. I topped mine with a little bit of parsley just to add some contrast and color, and then it is ready to eat. I am not 100% sure why this is called pizza pasta salad, besides just having some pepperoni in there, but this was still really good, really refreshing recipe for the hot summer days that we're still having here in Arizona. Overall, I hope you enjoyed today's video and found a side dish that you would like to try out. Don't forget to leave me a little flower emoji down in the comments if you made it all the way to the end. I want to be honest, I don't know if I'm going to have my video up on Sunday or Wednesday. I'm running a little behind on my recipes, so hopefully I get it up on Sunday, but if not, I will see you here on Wednesday. Bye guys.